So this maamar.
You can corrupt it.
So basically, this maamar is a maamar the Rebbe gave about Shavous, and the way the Rebbe structures the maamar is that he asks questions and then he gets into a topic, explains the topic, and then gives the answers. I'm going to start a little bit with the topic first because it's easier to focus, for us to focus quickly on it. I think that there's 2 points the Rebbe is trying to bring out in this maamar titled Bchodesh Hashlishi. The one point is that at Har Sinai, we know that not only did God give the Torah at Har Sinai, a real change in the nature of the world happened. And what was the change in the nature of the world? Is that you can make a physical thing spiritual. So, it doesn't make sense that how you can make something physical spiritual. They're opposites, they're total opposites. Like physicality is the pure opposite of spirituality, to the point where it makes a little sense the way the Christians think about it, that if you want to be holy, go lock yourself in a monastery, don't get married, don't abstain from everything. Makes a little bit logical sense that spirituality and physicality don't come one. So the fact that God at Har Sinai came down and made it that you can make something physical spiritual is a huge thing. And without that, if God did not do that at Har Sinai, there was no way we could take something that's purely physical and make it pure spiritual. So that's one theme that Rebbe is going to explain that on a much deeper level, so we understand how that happened, like what really happened at Har Sinai that made that possible. The other thing is that the real way to access godliness is, God's put in this kind of like chess game over here, right? Because if He makes us holy, then it's Him doing it. If He gives it fully up to us, how could human beings ever change the world? How could a human change the physical world? So if we just do it, how do we do it? If God does it, then it's not us, it's Him. So it's like this chessboard that God's trying to play. So the way that God makes it is that we have to do it, and we have bechira, but we have to let go of our ego and our self, which is called bittul in Chassidus, and we have to let God do it. So we have to do it, but it has to be us letting God do it through God. And that's why the big theme of the maamar is that by Har Sinai, Hashem said the Torah, but by Har Sinai it was beyond time. So it was a one-time event, but every time we learn Torah today, we're Hashem saying the words, and we're saying Hashem's words. And the question is, why is it so important that Hashem's saying the words with us? Because that's the mechanism which makes it that we could transform the world. That means if every time we learn Torah, it's really God saying it, and we connect to that part of God saying it, which means it's not that we're learning Torah, it's we're repeating God's words. When we get to the point that we're repeating God's words, then we could change the world. And that's the hardest thing in the world. It's not about me. It's not that I want to be a Talmid Chacham, or I want to be smarter, or I want to know more. It's that I want to repeat God's words. I want to let God do the talking, so to say. I want to learn because God asked me to learn. So that's the theme of the environment. The Rebbe is going to basically build up into that. So basically, it says in the pasuk, and Elokim spoke to Moshe these words saying. So Elokim spoke these words saying. It sounds repetitious. Vaydaber Elokim el Moshe Lemar. He spoke saying. Either say that he spoke to Moshe, or he told Moshe saying. So why does it say in a repetitious form? So usually it says the reason why in most psukim where it says and Hashem spoke to Moshe saying in a double form is because first Hashem spoke to Moshe, and Hashem told Moshe say it over to Klal Yisrael. But over here, this pasuk that was said by Dalakim, where the maamar is quoting, is said by when we came to Har Sinai. So if we're at Har Sinai and Hashem's the one talking to all the Jews, why does Hashem have to say that? And he spoke to Hashem saying. There's no one for Moshe to give it over to. So the Alter Rebbe explains that in this pasuk, the word lemor means that Hashem gave us the ability at Har Sinai to be lemor, to say the words over that Hashem is already saying. So the chiddush of Har Sinai was that we can have bittul, that we can make it that we're not saying the words, that we're just repeating Hashem's words. That was the chiddush of Har Sinai. So the famous question begins that if we're just repeating Hashem's words, what value do we add? Like what new are we adding to the world? If Hashem said the words by Har Sinai and we're just repeating the words, then what newness did we add into Torah that we learn? You understand? And it goes even further that when we came to Midbar Sinai, Rashi says it says the words by Yom Hazeh, that day, without saying what day it is. And Rashi says the reason why it says that day without saying what day it is to teach you that every time you learn Torah has to be like the day that you got it at Har Sinai. So what's the point of saying it if there's nothing new to what you're saying? So now we're going to explain what does it mean that by Har Sinai the lower worlds came to the upper worlds, the upper worlds came to the lower worlds. The two worlds, the spiritual world and the physical world, became united. And we have to understand what that means, because we always heard that. So the worlds that now you can make things holy. What does that mean? What does it mean, the spiritual world? What changed at Har Sinai? And the Midrash says, the Rebbe quotes the Midrash says that, for example, that the king made a decree that the people from Romi can't go to Syria, the people from Syria can't go to Romi. When Hashem created the world, He made it that there's something called the heavens, something called spirituality, there's something called physicality, and they don't combine. The heavens stay in heavens, and the earth physicality stays in physicality. That's why Avraham Avinu, even when he put onto the tefillin weren't holy. He could have thrown out the tefillin afterwards. You can't make cowhide holy. You could wear tefillin, you could do a mitzvah, but you don't change it, right? So at Har Sinai, Hashem made that change. At Har Sinai, Hashem made that the higher worlds and the lower worlds could connect. But by Har Sinai, the higher worlds came down to the lower worlds, as we see that Hashem came down and He spoke to all the Jews. But we were not able to go up to the higher worlds by Har Sinai because we were not ready to go up. So what happened at Har Sinai, from the lower worlds to the higher worlds, is that Hashem gave us the ability to go up to the higher worlds. And not that we went up to the higher worlds, is that Hashem gave us the ability at that time that now we could take the physical world and we could bring it up to the higher worlds. And we can make it that is permanently fixed. Before Har Sinai, you could do a mitzvah, then you're back to square one. Avraham Avinu had a lot of. The Rebbe didn't say that, but I'm assuming maybe that Avraham Avinu had a lot of people that he's mekarev, but it didn't stay. You weren't able to change it permanently. So here we're able to change the world permanently, the nature of the world. So, for example, even tefillin could become holy. Tefillin itself could actually become holy. So basically, even when a Jew learns Torah, even when a Jew is it blocking? Even when it's fine.
You told her?
You wanna? So you gotta put it down because it's not gonna be. Actually, why don't you send it on the thing right back behind me? Yeah. The bed's right behind. No, just let it straight. So even a person's mind. How does a person's mind? How could Torah change a person's mind? Like our mind is a physical mind. We learn Torah spirituality. How could Torah affect our physical mind? They're opposites also, and that's what happened at Har Sinai. That not that when you always did a mitzvah, you did a mitzvah, but we weren't able to permanently change the nature of an object. We weren't able to permanently change the nature of our brain, of who we are, and that's what Har Sinai brought. So how do we understand lower worlds and higher worlds? How do you understand what's a higher world and what's a lower world? So there's two ways of understanding it according to the maamar. One way of understanding the higher and lower worlds is that it's like a kav, it's like a line. So Hashem created the world at a starting point, and then He made more creations. The further creations were further away from godliness. So how do you define higher and lower worlds? Is the further something is from godliness, then that's the lower roles. The closer it is to godliness, that's the higher roles. But then there's a whole nother explanation of higher and lower roles. Higher roles are roles that are unified with God, that are beyond this world. All the divisiveness that we have in this world, all the different levels that are in this world, is because we're not unified 100% with God. So there's something called Mamali Kalaman that fills the God that fills this world, but it's contained in this world. And there's Sov Kalaman that it's godliness that it's above this world. It's above our comprehension. It's above this world. Everything is considered oneness with God. So there's two definitions of higher and lower worlds. Either everything in this world that is the further away from God is lower, the closer is higher, or higher worlds means that connection to God that's beyond this world, that has no divisiveness, no difference between anybody and anything. So when it says that the worlds which worlds came together, the answer is both. Hashem created all the different levels of this world were connected and unified, and this world and the next world were both interconnected. This world and the world that's above this world. So how do we understand what? Getting back to our question. So, sorry. That's why we also say, before we do a mitzvah, we say we want to unify Kudra Brichu and Shchite. Kudra Brichu is Saviv Kalalman. It's the connection to Hashem above this world, and Shchite is in this world, Malach Kalalman. So we know, when Hashem gave the Torah, it was beyond time and space, in time and space. So it says that we heard the voice from all six directions. When a sound comes, it only comes from one direction. So how do we hear a sound? When Hashem gave the Torah, we heard sounds from all six directions. How do we hear sounds? Because Hashem was in space, because we still heard the sounds, and it was still coming from directions, six directions. So it was beyond space, in space. Which means, the way we understand it, is that it was Hashem which is above this world, in this world. So physically, we had God beyond this world, in this world, at the time of Har Sinai. Also time-wise, it was a one-time event, but it wasn't stuck. Time is a construct of creation. It wasn't a one-time thing. It was a one-time thing that was beyond time. That every time that we learn Torah, we're reconnecting to that. We're saying at that time at Har Sinai. That's why we see that by Har Sinai, we only had the giving of the Torah once, because Hashem said at one time for all times. So even when Mashiach comes, we're not going to get the Torah again. Hashem's not going to come say the Torah to us, because we're all time is included in that one time already. So what happened? Hashem came down, but we couldn't make that change. We couldn't handle it. We all on our Shabbos flew out. We all couldn't handle God beyond time coming in time. The only way we could really make a permanent change is if we're going to do the work and we're going to change ourselves. If the lower roles will come to the higher roles, then we can make that change. That'll be permanent. And we see that so what happens every time we learn Torah? When Hashem gave, we could bring the Torah to a higher level than we even got at Har Sinai today. Today we could bring the Torah to even higher level than we had at Har Sinai. How? Because what's more higher? The potential of something or the actualization of something? The actualization. At Har Sinai, we had the potential that we could bring the lower roads to the higher roads. But we didn't do it because we didn't have time. Only Hashem came to us, but it didn't last. Whenever we have to do the work, there's no shortcuts. Which means that we learn Torah today, we're still connected to Har Sinai because it's beyond time, within time, but we're getting to a much higher level than they were at Har Sinai. Because Har Sinai, every time a Jew learned Torah since Har Sinai or did a mitzvah, they were able to build on the original potential and bring the Torah to a higher level and bring the world to a higher level. So every time we learn Torah today, we're learning the same Torah. Let's say it's the billionth time that piece of Torah was learned by people. Now we got that Torah to on the billionth level. So we're learning it today. You know how you always hear that we're on the shoulder of giants, but it's a little deeper than shoulder of giants. This generation is that because the Torah was learned so many times and the mitzvahs were done so many times, every time we do it, we're bringing it to the next level. We're actualizing that potential. And that's why when Mashiach comes, what does Mashiach coming mean? Mashiach coming means that we did all the work. We brought the mitzvahs and the world and the Torah to such a high level that now the lower world to the upper world is connected. But this time, it's not like the time by Har Sinai that it reverted back and we did the Egel afterwards. This time, it's permanent forever. Because when you could bring the lower worlds to the higher worlds, then there's a permanent change that can never go back. When Mashiach comes, it's not going to be Mashiach's going to come and then we're going to have no Mashiach after that. It's not like, right, like the Rebbe says, because the pasuk originally that the maamar is on is talking about Rosh Chodesh Sivan. So the Rebbe gets into Rosh Chodesh. What's Rosh Chodesh? Well, what's the new moon? The new moon starts with a dot, and then by the 15th of the month, it's in its complete fullness, right? So it's like the Jews at Har Sinai. We were the dot. The process began. That's when God made the ability that we could even change the world permanently. The fact that a Jew, that a human, could change the world permanently, that alone is the hugest chiddush. That we could bring Mashiach, that we could change the world, that we could make something in this world holy, that's a crazy chiddush. But that was only the potential. So, but the 15th, what was the 15th generation from Avraham? That was Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo HaMelech is when the Jews were in the fullness of the moon. It's when we had, it's until Mashiach comes, that was the time that the Jews were in the fullness of glory and of serving God. We had world peace, we had Beis Hamikdash, but then it didn't last. It wasn't permanent because we did not do enough mitzvahs. It was not enough time done of mitzvahs to be able to make it everlasting. You know, you always hear you put one brick on every mitzvah you do. Put one brick on the Beis Hamikdash. This takes it to a much deeper level. Every time we do a mitzvah, we're connected to that original time, and we're making that time so much greater. So eventually, the worlds will connect. The lower worlds and upper worlds will have that ultimate connection that can never go back. And the real question is going to become, and this is the Rebbe always talks practically. The Rebbe says these deep thoughts, but then connects it to how do you do it day to day? How do you change your life based on these concepts? So the Rebbe says, what do you do? Okay, Lamaisa, how do you make that change? How do we connect the lower worlds, upper worlds? How do we fulfill the potential that was given at Har Sinai? How do we bring Mashiach? How do we do it? Not just in theory. So also, it says the Torah, you see, the Rebbe takes opposites and shows how it's one. Also, Torah does two things. It says that the Torah strengthens your godly soul and it weakens your animal soul. The question is, how can it do two opposite things? So we learn in the Hasidus that the essence of Hashem could contain two opposites. The Torah has the essence of Hashem. So when you learn Torah, it could weaken the animal soul and strengthen the godly soul at once. It's the same thing with this world. That the way to make the upper worlds and lower worlds connect, two opposites, you got to connect to the essence of Hashem. And the question is, how do you connect to the essence of Hashem? How do you connect to the essence of Hashem so that you can make the lower worlds and the upper worlds combine? And the answer is that this is the whole point of the maamar. This is the point of the maamar. The point of the maamar is that the only way to take two things that are so opposite, to take the physical world that is material, and to take the spiritual world, which is the will of God, and a mitzvah, which is the will of God, or Torah, which is God's thoughts, to take these two things and combine them, you got to have the essence of God. Only the essence of God can handle two opposites. And how do we access the essence of God? Is, like we said at the beginning of the maamar, is to say the words like Hashem is saying them today. The reason why Hashem made it at Har Sinai, that it was in time, beyond time, that every time we learn Torah now, we're repeating after His words, because He gave us the potential to have bittul. He gave us the potential that we could learn Torah not about us, we're repeating His words. The reason why God created such a thing as beyond time is because God wanted us to give us the ability that we were able to learn Torah, not because we're going to be a big Talmid Chacham, not because we're going to get smarter, not because we're better than our friend, because we're repeating God's words. Then we could get to the essence of God. Then we can allow God to connect the two worlds. We can never connect the two worlds. God can connect the two worlds. But if God just did it, we would have no Bechira. So God had to create it that we're doing it, but we can let go of the I and the ego and the about us and let Him do it. Then we can combine the physical and spiritual worlds. And if enough Jews did that over enough period of time, Mashiach will come. Mashiach is that you see God in this world. And the only way to see God in this world is allow God in this world. It's not to be about our agenda. It's not to be about us. It's the ability to allow God to reside in this world. And the only way to do that is allow God in. Is to learn Torah and do mitzvahs because Hashem said to do it. Not because we're a cult, because we want to do the will of our Creator. Because that's what He wants. And we know that we can't do it without Him. So God created that we have to learn Torah. So remember we asked the question at the beginning of the maamar, what's new every time we learn if God already said it at Har Sinai, and we're repeating after His words? Because every time we learn it, we get the world and ourselves to a new level. We bring Har Sinai to a new level every time we learn. So yeah, we're just repeating after God's words, but we have the ability to bring the whole world to a new level every time we learn. And that's why at Har Sinai, God chose us. He solidified that relationship with us. Because that ability to do things just for God, for no alternate reason, comes... The Jews have a special ability to be able to do things for no alternate reason but for God. And that ability happened at Sinai. And that's why it says that the pasuk, it says that and they came to the midbar. Another word for midbar is midaber. So a man before the word daber is speaking. Is that we're able to come to the midbar. We're able to come to be a midaber. And we're just repeating after the words of God. And that's why it says that we came from Rafidim. Rafidim means weak, from Rafa, weak. We were weak before we came to Har Sinai because we were not doing it l'shma. We're not doing it with bittul. We're able to move from Rafidim. That means we're able to move from that way of doing it, which was weak, and be able to come to Midbar Sinai. We're able to come to a place where we were medaber. Then Hashem was able to give us the Torah. Then Hashem was able to separate us and make us different from all the rest of the nations of the world. And that's our world to make a change in this world. We should be zoichet to all have the ability to be able to give, to be able to do things because God, and allow God in and do it for God so that we can make the real change in this world to help to bring Mashiach.
Amen.